If you want to be a part of the team or organization creating the next latest and greatest thing, you hear a lot of buzzwords and concepts, and it can be kind of hard to understand what they all mean, and it can feel especially challenging if you're trying to pick a program of study to break into the working world and solve real problems. In this video, I'm going to quickly cover and compare user-centered design, design thinking, user experience design, human and computer interaction, and industrial design to help you better understand what they all mean and how they might differ. First, let's talk about user-centered design and design thinking, because they are actually the same thing. If you Google image search each of them, you'll find essentially that same image across different articles. You'll find some version of empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test, which you kind of cycle through until you come up with something great. When many people imagine design thinking, they think of the parts that are exciting and look cool on TV, like sitting in a room with a bunch of smart people, coming up with ideas with sticky notes, and making cool prototypes. However, the key to all of these is focusing on designing or using processes or techniques that focus empirically on actual end users. This is where most companies or concepts fail, because when you get a bunch of smart people who are nothing like the people who will be using the tool or application, you likely won't get the best solution. So, before you start any of the fun stuff, you have to learn to empathize with actual users by conducting surveys, interviews, and observing them. Then, when the actual fun stuff begins, you need to validate with your users that you're moving in the right direction as much as possible every step of the way. Testing your assumptions with prototypes over and over again with real end users until you failed enough times to come up with a great solution. Design thinking of all these terms is probably the most generic term. If you seek out training in design thinking, it'll most likely be a more generic conceptualization of how to creatively and effectively solve tricky problems. These tend to be in the form of week-long workshops or training, and is usually structured in a way that allows you to solve any type of problem, not just software or product problems. For example, teachers, administrators, and even civil service groups could benefit from using design thinking to improve their spaces. Next is user experience design, which is the most commonly used when talking about software or web applications. At a high level, it follows the same processes and concepts as you would get in a design thinking course. However, in training, you will see more prescribed techniques or concepts that are often more beneficial when you're talking about software applications. Some examples are concept maps, content strategy, information architecture, wireframes, site maps or site blueprints, and so forth. Comprehensive training here can often span full semester-long courses or full degree programs, like I have. User experience design students usually look for jobs as user researchers, user experience designers, user experience architects, or software product designers. Human and computer interaction is most commonly used in academics as a major or certification program of some kind. Programs will vary, but most will focus heavily on usability and interaction design, which address kind of the human nature and tendencies of people. These programs tend to be a little bit developer-centric, allowing them to construct applications that work in line with how humans think and act, regardless of what the goal of the application might be. Students of HCI commonly find jobs as front-end or UI designers or developers. Last but not least is industrial design, where you'll likely be designing non-digital or hardware products. The range could be vast here, from a more ergonomic pen to an airplane cockpit. In many ways, the goals of an industrial designer are the same as a user experience designer, which is make something that can help users easily and efficiently accomplish their task. The design process is also likely the same. However, the techniques and knowledge required might vary greatly depending on the industry. For example, you might need things like 3D printing, materials, human anatomy, physics, chemistry, understanding safety regulations, and I'm sure the list goes on and on. The most generic title here would probably be product designer or hardware product designer, but it could vary depending on the industry. Remember that all of these are related in some ways, so depending on the program or supplemental training, you may come out ready to really hop into a bunch of different job titles or roles and not necessarily the ones that I mentioned here in this video. I hope that brought some clarity around these two topics and your career path. If you have any additional questions, as always, let me know in the comments and I will answer you there, or create a whole new video to answer your questions. So subscribe to see those questions get answered, and thanks for watching.